Hey hosts, today is the top 10 things that hosts do ranked from best to worst, so that way you can take your few eggs, put them in the right baskets, and get a lot more bookings in 2026. My name's Sean, 11-year host, 50,000 stays, students have made billions of dollars, and number one is a little myth busting. It's investing into interior design. Obviously necessary, right? Well, this one's actually not 10 out of 10. There's a caveat here. 1, some listings just compete on price. They don't need design. They just need furniture. 2, the interior design style that you like may not be a design style that a customer likes. So 3, if you want to take this from a 6 out of 10 to a 10 out of 10, you invest into trending interior design. A lot of hosts don't know these names: Kelly Wurstler, India Madavi, John Adler, but these are famous interior designers. And because they are famous, and because they are alive, and because they do new stuff, people talk about them. They end up in magazines. Certain design styles start to trend. This is a marketing hack for you, even bigger than the whole coffee thing I went on about for multiple years. Remember that 1 out of 3 decaf or tea? A lot of hosts didn't even know that people liked coffee as much as they do, but I'm a coffee guy, so I'd be the first to say it. In the same way, 7 years ago, I had no clue how important interior design was, but I also didn't know why it was important. First takeaway for many of you: interior design is important, but it's important for a different reason. We're not just trying to make a space that looks full. We're trying to make a space that really calls to people. Marketing 101. So 6 out of 10, unless you do your research, find what's trending, what's going to be big next year, and then it's a 10 out of 10. Like Japandi or Scandinavian with the black accent wall. If you were in front of these moves when the magazines started talking about them, you'd be making a ton of money for a couple of years at least. Number 2 on things that hosts do to get more bookings is wish list additions. This is some myth busting too. This one is so terribly bad, it's a 1 out of 10. When you make a new listing and you add it to wish lists, you get a temporary boost, like the smallest of all boosts. And sure, since the new listing boost is gone on Airbnb, we could give this maybe a 2.5 out of 10. If when your listing is brand new, you get 100 wish list additions, great. But here's what's wrong with that, is you are asking people who are not your consumer archetype to wish list, and you're giving the algorithm negative data. Algorithms operate on something called vectors. Imagine YouTube, which is where we are right now. There are so many things about you that YouTube knows. How long you like to watch a video for, what videos you like to watch, your age, location, all of this stuff. And what YouTube does in its recommendation is it tries to fit in your watch behavior with other people's watch behavior and looks for overlaps in your vectors, so that way it can continue to recommend strong performing videos that would perform with people similar to you. Thus, it can confidently recommend that you're like a 60% match for a video. If you get somebody who's completely unrelated to wishlist a property, it's like me sending this video to somebody who wants to watch cat memes and asking a cat meme group to like my video. Next thing you know, this video is being put in front of cat meme people and they're not watching it, and then the video dies. I probably should put a cat meme just in case. In summary, Airbnb cares about bottom of funnel data. If people click on the listing, if they stick, if they send you a message, if they book, do they stay? Do they leave a 5-star review? And if they leave a 5-star review, they go pull that initial search and take all of the vectors from that initial search and save it, and then use those search vectors against other people's search vectors. So if you get a bunch of 5-star reviews for a pet-related stay, then other people who search for pets, you'll go up in rank. This is why I have a new series about going viral on Airbnb. My friends, it may look a little esoteric or weird to you, but as a host, I promise you, I'm making all of my videos for you. Every video is for Airbnb hosts. It's about beating the algorithm. It's about understanding marketing and psychology and what guests want to see on Airbnb. So you can make Airbnb happy so you get shown more in search, but even if you don't get enough impressions on Airbnb because they shadow ban you, for example, which does happen, we'll do that in a future video. Even if you get shadow banned, if your click-through, if people are clicking on your listings, if that is strong enough, you'll still get a bunch of bookings. So after this video, start my Go Viral on Airbnb series. It's going to make you a way better host in ways you couldn't even imagine. Number 3 on the things that hosts do to get more bookings is they add more beds. This one is so amateur, but it's like a 9 out of 10. I have a student who was in a building with 100 units downtown. He had 28 of them, and he crammed a ton of beds into his units, and everybody else played by the rules and had 1 or 2 beds. His listings were the only ones that were profitable. Everyone else failed, and then he picked up the other units and crammed a bunch of beds into those. It's not fancy. It's not cool to have a bunch of bunk beds, but if your listings are truly competing on price, there is a lower number in every market that can be defined by the cost per head or cost per bed, because some groups of men don't share beds. So cost per bed is a really safe metric, just in case there's going to be one head per bed. And if you find out that number's $21 per person and you have 8 beds, you're guaranteed to make about $160 a night at the minimum, and you still take advantage of supply-demand spikes. If you want to go more luxury, bunk beds are a terrible idea, by the way. But if you have no other option but to compete on price, more beds to the moon, it absolutely works. This is market dependent. So in some markets like Dallas or Philadelphia, Boston, Jersey by New York, anywhere where there is square footage constrained, not just supply constrained, but square footage constrained locations, this is 9 out of 10. But if you go to cities with more square footage, like a San Antonio, or some places that are more rural, this matters less and less. You go into the mountains of the Smokies where couples are taking vacations just to get something secluded, they don't care that you have 6 beds. They want a king bed, they want a hot tub, they want a view. And now more beds become an antithesis to your investment thesis because you could have done something else with that space if your ideal customer is literally just a couple on their honeymoon. So 9 out of 10 at the max, but nuance. There's always nuance. Number 4 that hosts are doing is like the 12 out of 10. This is way more than just 10 out of 10 because nobody does this. There is a section at the bottom of Airbnb search when you go to filters, and at the bottom by guest favorites, it has accessibility disabled settings. No one, even when they have no-step access, is doing the work to go to their listing and prove to Airbnb that their listing is wheelchair accessible. No one is advertising that they have a walk-in shower or no-step access. I'm going to confess, I've got a building in downtown Dallas that has an elevator, has walk-in showers and all this other stuff too for some of my units. And I still have not disclosed my disabled accessible features because they make you go take extra photos and submit it. I haven't done it because I've had enough bookings without it, but let me tell you, I made a friend years ago at Airbnb who led the department for ADA accessible homes, and she was wheelchair bound too. And she said that some markets have a 400% supply-demand search gap to what's available. Now that we are oversupplied, I assume that this is even crazier. There must be more money to be made in the world of ADA as far as supply and demand. If you go and search for no-step access and a walk-in shower, you usually end up with 1 listing per market. 2 listings per market. It's gross. So take advantage of this, even if it means making a small renovation to your property to put a ramp at your front doorstep or anything like that, because even that small change turns into huge, huge wins. And we can go back to the algorithm and talk about vectors. If you have 5-star related stays for wheelchair-bound persons, Airbnb's homepage is going to update for everybody who's wheelchair-bound. All of you listening in from all over the world, have an experiment. If you're in Dallas like me and on the homepage, it's going to say go to Austin, go to Broken Bow, wherever. If you're in London, the homepage is going to say go to Seoul, North Korea, or go to Rio de Janeiro. Airbnb's homepage dynamically loads based on what they know about the user. And for anybody who's not ADA, regionality is a big factor. But if you are ADA, Airbnb is highly likely to recognize that this is a constraint in all of your searches, and they will populate a staycation feed like we all get, but for ADA-friendly properties. They're going to make that adjustment because that's just who Airbnb is, isn't it? Now, this is serious stuff, my friends, but this is really fun stuff if you get into the details. Airbnb has been harder. It has been oversupplied in some markets. They had some bad press, a lot of people on TikTok complaining. Airbnb's made some feature changes that weren't necessarily good for hosts, but you're still here, which means you're still surviving. And if you're still surviving, at one point you kind of get used to the punishment, you could call it. And at one point, you also find out that your ability to get through all of this is how you succeed in any business. Airbnb is not new, so the newbie gold rush is over, but Airbnb is still new enough that there's a comprehension gold rush that I think we should have a conversation about. There's a lot of people in the space that don't know a lot. Nobody watches content like this. You're one of the very few, and you should be proud of yourself for watching content on how to improve your business. Very few people do that. And because Airbnb is easy to get into but harder to master, by you learning these business basics, you're 10 times better than everybody else. That's why, again, I'm going to remind you, this video is kind of sponsored by my Going Viral on Airbnb series. I want you to think like a marketer in 2026. I want you to redefine how you think your business runs. Having a piece of real estate is all good. Having a couch is good. But getting inside your customer's head is the only way that you will succeed in 2026. With everything that's going on, I can guarantee you success if you think like a marketer. I can't guarantee it otherwise. Which leads to number 5, the thing that hosts do to get more bookings, which is spending money on amenities. Now, this is a mixed bag. Again, there's some nuance. It depends on 2 things. If the amenity can be searched for, like pool, hot tub, gym. These are Boolean search-related features on Airbnb, and you can get found in really cool ways. Just like when we said no-step access and all the listings disappeared, if you have an EV charger and are pet-friendly and have a gym, and everybody else disappears and you're the only listing for those three things, and a guest needs or wants those three things, you then are the bottleneck and then you get bookings. And then two, this is and or here. If your amenities photograph well and you can get somebody to go, wow, that's really cool, I want that, then that amenity is great. But I think too many people get too excited about amenities because everybody else has them or because they are expensive. Like everybody's picking up saunas. If your sauna doesn't photograph well, it doesn't show up in a search filter thing, the sauna really doesn't matter to people. People don't really ever use it. But if it's aesthetic, if it's photographable, if it's an Instagram-worthy sauna, now we're getting somewhere. Amenities the old way, 3 out of 10. Amenities the new way, to search hack and to click hack, that's a solid 8 out of 10. That kind of peeps number 6, my friends. Hosts now are investing massive amounts of money into their hero photo. Just like a YouTuber spends money on the thumbnail for a video, like Mr. Beast, all this money on art and design to get that thumbnail to be clickable, your hero photo works exactly the same way. And it's not nearly as hard as it is to be a YouTuber. Let me tell you, my videos have like a 6% to 8% click-through rate, but my Red Room has a 72% click-through rate. 72%. That's 10x of my average YouTube click-through rate performance. And I did this just by thinking with my YouTube brain. If you invest money not just into interior design, not just into amenities, but you invest money with the intention of creating a photo that people have to click on, that photo will drive you clicks, and then your design and your amenities get room to shine. But everything that you do with your listing to make it grand and great and beautiful and welcoming and warm, if people don't click on your thumbnail and your title when they're searching, you don't get a chance to show everything else that you got. There will always be one photo that matters the most, and that's your hero photo, and you need to spend money planning your space to win for the hero photo. This is 11 out of 10 kind of stuff too. And to beat the dead viral horse here, this is how we go viral on Airbnb. My Red Room has less than half the impressions of a guest favorites property in the same building. Kind for kind, identical parallel relationship. But because the Red Room has 72% click-through rate, where the other one has about a 25% click-through rate, the Red Room has the same conversion percentage and even has more bookings than the guest favorites listing that's just boring and safe. What I'm telling you that you can do is you can get half of the action from Airbnb, but you can get just as many bookings by breaking the rules, thinking like a creator, thinking like a marketer, spend money to create that hero photo that everybody's got to click. And once someone's clicked on your listing, they are more committed than they used to be. And just the psychological depth of being on your listing is enough to get more bookings. Even if you think that you're clickbaiting people and they click and they're not gonna like your listing, the fact that people have clicked, there's inertia to get back out, believe it or not. They have to go back and find a different listing that they want to click on, and people get fatigued by all of this, and your listing may be good enough to commit to after they click, but it wasn't good enough to commit to before they clicked. Funnel psychology at its finest. And if you don't believe me, I built sales teams and sales campaigns for newspapers since 2008. It's been almost 20 years that I've been a professional in sales and psychology and influence. I'm one of the biggest Airbnb coaches in the world, and I don't run ads. I might be the only coach in the world that doesn't spend money on ads, but it works because funnels work. And trust is a big factor for this. That's why this content is free. Speaking of trust, number 7 is getting on guest favorites with Airbnb, which is way harder than getting on Superhost. And Superhost doesn't matter anymore. You don't get any algorithmic boost, nothing. You still get the badge, which gives you a little bit of trust, but guest favorites is a more trusting badge. And Airbnb uses more than just your review score for guest favorites. If you ever had a guest call in and make a complaint, like you tried to encourage them to cancel, or there was a cleaning problem and you had to give them a cleaning fee refund, these work against you. And on Airbnb specifically, guest favorites is a 10 out of 10. Because not only does it help maximize your bottom of funnel conversion from after someone clicks to booking with you, but it's also why that other listing that was boring got double the impressions. Once you're guest favorites, Airbnb is going to push you so much harder. In some markets, the very first page is all guest favorites, regardless of anything else that you can do, because there's enough guest favorites with friendly policies, and Airbnb doesn't need to reach into its bag for non-guest favorites inventory, so that way someone can have a flexible cancellation policy. Number 8 on things hosts are doing to get more bookings is growing by the year, because Airbnb's market share is a little bit contested lately. Booking.com is growing, VRBO is growing, there's Whimstay, there's Hopper, there's all these channels. Going multi-channel is the thing that hosts are doing to get more bookings off of Airbnb, including Booking Direct, and it's working. This is a solid 7-ish, 8-ish out of 10. There's a lot to learn here, and the results aren't necessarily guaranteed. You're going to get on 5 or 6 channels, and one's going to give you business, a second one maybe, but you're still early. And as customers leave Airbnb and go other places, if you're listed these other places, you might be one of the few hosts there. And when you get that booking, you get it on your terms at your price. So go multi-channel in a big way, even though this is largely an early conversation with these other little boutique channels, but they will pay off down the road. Number 9 that hosts are doing more and more and more is learning pricing strategy and leveraging a pricing software. But there's a caveat here again. Over 70% of people are using a pricing software now. That's a lot. And something happens at this point when everybody's using the same software. There's no longer an advantage. The market is moving en masse together, and no one person is special in that way. Imagine everybody's signed up for Price Labs. You give Price Labs $10 and say, I want you to beat everybody else to death. But everybody else on your block does the same thing. Price Labs can't choose you and say you're special, so we're going to give you preferential treatment. We're going to let everybody else go unbooked. That's not how the software works. So in slow season, when there's way more people on a pricing software than there are customers, you're not guaranteed an advantage. So getting on a pricing software is a requirement to be able to compete, but you have to learn pricing strategy to then go beyond what everyone else is doing. Being on a pricing software now is like making the chessboard. You now have the pieces, and you can also see when other pieces move. But now you have to move your pieces against your opponents, which are other Price Labs users. I call this a level 2 deviation. Getting the chessboard together is just a level 1. And so adopting a pricing software is 7 out of 10, but it's just so you don't lose your shirt. And learning pricing strategy and putting a ton of work into this, right? This is a toughie to learn. That's the 9 out of 10. If this were easier, I'd call it a 10, but this is not easy. Pricing strategy is a lifelong study in a way, because your market will change and your competition will change. So you're always playing a fresh game, very much like chess. You're going to have 10 or so moves that you use as a pricing strategist, let's say that, but then day to day, how you apply those moves is going to depend on your competition and on the market. And so it's a lot of work. Just want to warn you. But even for its workload, it's one of the best things that you can do for your business. Now, number 10 that hosts are doing to get more bookings is the beginning of a big, long journey. That's a 10 out of 10 also, because we don't know where the market's going, which is to go direct, to work on going direct, to start capturing people's emails using something like StayFi, to start working on a newsletter to keep in touch with people, to start building your social media where people can interact with you when they've left, to allow you to have a brand that exists off of the Airbnb platform and off of OTAs. Because if we're begging OTAs for bookings and they ever collapse or they ever do something silly or wrong, or they change their commissions to 30-something% or something goofy, we don't want to be stuck relying upon them. If you can get a direct booking with no service fee for the same price as Airbnb where they charge you 15.5, you've made 15% more profit. Which means also if you had to be more price competitive in a down market, but you could get your bookings direct, there's 15% less fat there. And that less fat means you get to keep more, which means your competitors go out of business. And then 2 years later, when the market gets better, you're one of the few competitors left. And then you get to make all of the money. You can ride out these peaks and valleys by being more distributed, but also by going direct. Now, friends, the reason why going direct is a big, long conversation is we have to have a real conversation about marketing. We have to understand how to get customers and how to talk to customers and how to be a brand and how to make content. My new series, Go Viral on Airbnb, will make you a content creator, will make you a marketer, will make you a master of everything algorithm. Instagram, YouTube, Airbnb, all of it. And if you can work through an algorithm to get a customer, you'll make money everywhere, including direct bookings. Because even though you're booking direct on your website, you still have to work through Instagram and through Google and through YouTube to make your money, don't you? Watch that series and change the way you look at this industry. 2026 is the year of the marketer. The real estate investor is dead in 2026. I cannot say it more plainly. If you stay real estate minded, you will die in this space. This is not real estate. This is hospitality. We are creating spaces that people want to be in. We are leveraging desire and attention to get our spaces full. I will prove it to you in 2026. We're going to kick some serious butt and we're going to make a lot of money, and I want you there with me. I don't want you left behind with the bigger pockets people. Thank you for watching this video till the end. This video will start your journey on going viral and being a master marketer on Airbnb. I promise you it's worth your time, and I'll see you on the other side.